Hello, I'm Jyotika. Welcome to Excelling Psychology. In today's class, we will go over part 2 of a lesson that I've started in solving the January 2025 paper for PS01. I've already completed section A memory in a previous video. I'll link it in the description box below. I strongly recommend you watch that video before watching this one because exactly how I'm going about this lesson, what is my approach to it, I've explained in that video. I will not be repeating it here. Before I start with the video though, I would like to introduce myself to you. So in case you're not interested in the introduction and you just want to start solving the first question, you can use the timestamps below to skip a little into the video. So to introduce myself, I'm a school teacher for A-level psychology and a school expert consultant. And since more than past 10 years, I have also been privately tutoring Oxford International and UK AQA A-levels and GCSE, IGCSE psychology students. So if you want to schedule your private classes with me, I have left my contact number and email ID in the pinned comment and description box below. Also, if you just want to do correspondence work, like many students come to me that they want to practice their papers and they want to give it to me for correction and feedback. Even for that, you can contact me. Please do not contact me personally for any comments that you have about the videos. Anything you want to ask about what I've covered in the videos or any suggestions that you want to make as to what videos I should upload on this channel. Please use the comments box to make those queries and comments. I will not respond if you contact me personally. So please approach me using the right channel. Okay, also I have started uploading a lot of essay packs, and trust me, I'll be uploading many more soon. So especially for those subjects which you find very difficult. For example, I've seen Oxford International students find the cognitive development section very difficult, which is for PS02. So I've already uploaded the essay pack for that. The most repeated questions and the most challenging ones I have covered in those essay packs. So my students most frequently tell me that the official textbook, which is there for Oxford AQA, does not suffice many times for many evaluation points, or it's just very difficult. The way the textbook is laid out, we are not able to separate the evaluation and description points. So if you have difficulties like these and you need to solve them, you could take private classes from me, or you could just buy those essay packs with ready-made answers and prepare your answers accordingly. I will be uploading them for more of the challenging questions like sections like biopsychology, psychology applied to work, issues and debates, and so forth very soon. Psychology and sleep. I intend to upload that one also. So you can bookmark my website. Again, I've linked it in the description box and pin comment. The essay packs keep coming out then, and you can subscribe to this channel as well to get notified whenever I upload any such videos or any such materials to make studying easier for you. This lesson which I'm doing right now is for Oxford students but should be equally useful to UK students as well, because section B, social influence, for Oxford students is section A for UK students, and exactly the same type of questions can come in UK paper as well. So I hope all students will benefit from this video. Okay, having said that, let's begin with the first question. They've asked for two types of conformity. The command term is name. Name simply means that it's like identify. You don't have to describe, you don't have to outline. You literally just have to name the type of conformity. And it's for 2 marks. They've clearly indicated two types, meaning that 1 mark is for each type which you name. Okay, we know there are 3 types of conformity given in the syllabus. Let's remember quickly. Compliance, internalization, and identification. So we can give any 2 types here. A frequently made mistake is just to repeat conformity. As silly as it sounds, but some students forget the word compliance and they call it conformity instead. Conformity will not count. Okay, so let's take any 2. Internalization and identification. Okay, so you'd get 1 mark for each. You get 2 marks. You don't need to write anything more than this, just the name strictly. Let's look at the next question. There are different explanations for why conformity occurs. Outline one explanation of conformity. This time the command term is outline, not name. That means not only we have to name the explanation what it's called, we also have to give a line explaining it, what it says. Any one they've allowed us. We know we've learned two explanations in the syllabus. Let's remember which those are. ISI, informational social influence, and NSI, normative social influence. We are free to give any one, whichever we feel we can elaborate on better. There's nothing like, if I write about ISI, I'll get more marks, or if I write about NSI, I'll get more marks. No. It's for 2 marks, one explanation for 2 marks. So, you just name it. You get 1 mark for naming correctly and the other mark for explaining. If you want, you can add in an example or any elaboration, though that is not required as such. Okay, so I'll show you both types. You could write any one of these. You could take informational social influence, for example. As I've mentioned in the previous part of the video also, whenever there is this outline or describe or explain, basically any AO1 command term, keep the first point always as the definition. Like in the sense, of course, here the first point is naming because we will have to name, they haven't named it in the question. Next point should be the definition. Don't give an example. It can get you marks, but always the better way of going about it is to give the definition in good terminology. So, see, for ISI, I can say that it is conformity because of the desire to be right or correct. That's the definition. So, that is the ideal way of writing instead of saying, if, say, someone is in a library and they don't know what is the protocol of being there, so they see what is other people's behavior and they follow that. Instead of giving that example directly, if you want to give an example at all, first give the definition and then give the example. Why I'm saying that is because most students don't explain examples well. Like in the library example which I've given just now, it does not become apparent how that is informational social influence. Like the motive behind conforming is not clear from that example. So they have asked you to outline the explanation. It doesn't outline it. It doesn't show your understanding of the definition. Okay, so what we can do is, like I said, define it. And if you want to give an example, give it after this. So, for example, following what others are doing in the library to adhere to the rules correctly. Alternatively, you can give some elaboration also, such as when it comes to ISI, why people do it is because of that innate need to always be correct or to do the right things. That's why, because humans, just like they have an innate need to live together and to be approved, that makes them feel secure. So again, a sense of correctness or disambiguity makes them feel secure. But anyways, even if you just give the first 2 points, I assign the definition, you're covered. Alternatively, you could give NSI. NSI is normative social influence. In the same way, first you could give definition, conforming for the desire to be fit in or to win approval of others, to not be rejected by others. For elaboration, you could say that it is out of fear of rejection, since man is a social animal. Or for example, you could just say doing the same hair color as one's peer group just to be approved by them, even if one does not like that hair color. Okay, so I think this is a very straightforward question. Also, I remember for one of the UK A levels videos, which I've just uploaded most recently, you can check on my channel. There's this full 16 marker with the situation, which is based on explanations for conformity, which I have covered entirely in that video. So, if you want to know more about this topic, you can visit that video. The UK videos which are there, they're equally useful to you as an Oxford International student, except for very rare topics which are not there in your syllabus. So you can always watch those videos also on my channel. They'll really help you to prepare for the exam. Also, one more thing, again, it might seem obvious to some of you, but students do make these mistakes, so I want to highlight them. The explanations for conformity are not the same as types of conformity. Some students confuse between them. So just make sure you're very clear. Types are internalization, identification, compliance. Explanations are normative and informational. Okay, so just make sure to keep that distinction in your mind. The next question is, Yara thinks that maths is difficult. The teacher writes some questions on the board. The other three students at Yara's table have worked out that the answer to the first question is 6. Yara thinks that it is 4. However, when the teacher asks Yara for her answer, she says 6. Use your knowledge of two variables that affect conformity to explain Yara's behavior. Again, I would say the same thing for this. Explanations of conformity types and even factors now or variables are not to be confused. So when they ask you for variables or factors, group size, unanimity, these are the variables which affect conformity. So make sure that you are talking about these. Don't talk about explanations or types of conformity, not what we have answered for previous questions. Also, don't confuse it with obedience. Some students start talking about the factors that affect obedience, like legitimacy of authority or agentic state. In fact, those are the explanations for obedience. So, for social influence, though it's a very easy topic, make sure you're not getting confused between things when you're answering. Okay, so here there are three variables as such in the syllabus. We can take any two of them: group size, unanimity, task difficulty. You can choose any. I'll show you how you can justify actually any two out of three. So then it's up to you, whichever you feel you can explain better, you can take that. Whenever you're seeing a question like this, today I'm sorry, okay, now the pen is working. It was not working, so I'll just mark here only and I'll show you. As you're reading line by line, like I've explained in the previous part, also keep noticing whatever is relevant, like keep marking it out in your mind so that when you're phrasing your answer, it becomes easier for you. Just do a line by line analysis. Also, that helps you to make sure you're covering everything that is given in the situation. First thing is, when a situation is given, you have to engage with it. They tell you also directly, explain Yara's behavior. Okay, that's one. Second thing is, it makes sure that you don't leave out anything, because if they've given you a situation and so many insights into that, they want you to explain everything in the answer, otherwise they wouldn't have given those things. Okay, Yara thinks maths is difficult. When they say difficult, which factor, which variable you're reminded of? Task difficulty, right? So that immediately brings you to, okay, task difficulty is one of the variables that I can take here. The teacher writes the questions on the board. The other three students have worked out the answer to the first question is 6. Other three students have worked out, meaning there is unanimity because all of them are saying 6. They haven't indicated that anyone is giving a different answer. Yara is one person. How many others are there? 3 students, which means that group size is also a factor, right? And then, of course, when the teacher, she says 6, although she thinks that it is 4. A point that we'll be highlighting when we explain that her actual opinion is different, which shows that she has come under the influence of the variable. Okay, so you're free to take any two. I will show you all 3. Out of those, you can take any 2. How you need to organize your answer is 2 variables are asked for 4 marks. So it's understood that there are 2 marks per variable. Okay, so first narrow down on which variables you can explain better out of the 3 which I have marked. Then for each variable, first name it and then explain it in context of Yara's situation. This is an AO2 question. Because use your knowledge to explain the scenario. Directly they want you to apply to the scenario. They don't want any general definitions. So 1 point naming the variable, second explaining how it applies to Yara. If you want to give a brief outline, you can give, though it is not compulsory. Supposing you're taking group size and you just want to give one line on what it is before linking it to Yara, fine, you can take that approach. Okay, so let's assume if we take group size first. What group size suggests is that The greater the number of participants who are supporting one view, so in a participants individuals, the greater the number of individuals supporting one view, more likely it is that the individual will conform. So if you want, first you can explain like this. So alternatively, you can just name group size is one variable which is influencing Yara. Now, key thing to score in an A2 is to talk about Yara's situation. Like, how is group size affecting her in particular? So think about it that way. How is it affecting Yara? So that you write in those terms. Use her name while answering. Don't write general things without naming her. So involve the characters. Use wording from the scenario. Think about which words from the situation I can take while explaining. Or to make it even simpler, keep using the conjunction because. Group size applies to Yara because, and then automatically you will end up taking words from the situation. So whichever way helps you to engage with the stem, just make sure you're engaging with it. In Yara's case, the group size is 3. So you can see I've used the number 3 from the scenario I've named Yara, and this indicates that there are a large number of students, a fairly large number of students who are supporting the view that the correct answer is 6. That is why, though Yara thinks that the correct answer is 4, she still says 6. You can explain it this way. Okay? How some students answer generally and treat an AO2 question as if it's an AO1 question. If group size is big, many students will conform. So if other students give a particular answer, this student will also give that answer. Don't write vague answers. Why you not naming Yara? Why you going on saying student, student or individual, individual? Why some answer? Why not she's saying feeling it's 4 and they are saying it's 6? What is the hesitation in using the name Yara in your situation or the number 6 and 4? Okay, if you want to score full marks for AO2, you have to use that wording. There's no option. Otherwise, you'll just get maybe 1 mark for each variable. Your marks will cut down to half. Okay, then if we take, okay, also for group size, again, I feel it's too extensive, but if you want, you can include Ash's finding. So in your outline, first you can say Ash has found that when 3 confederates are there, that's the most pressurizing on the participants, increasing confederates further. Number of majority confederates does not influence participants' responses. And 3 is exactly the number of students who are there in Yara's case. So this must be the most pressurizing situation. But like I said, I feel it comes to elaborate just for 2 marks. But in case you want to give that and you can give it succinctly, you can include that. Coming to unanimity. In general, what does the unanimity principle say about conformity? It says that the more united the group is, or the more the people that are giving the same answer, the more likely it is that the individual will conform. Okay, I'm sorry, my keyboard is acting up a little. Now, to apply to Yara's case, we have to emphasize on the fact that all 3 students are giving the same answer, which shows that there is unity or unanimity between them. So therefore, she's giving the answer 6 because they're unitedly saying that instead of 4, which she believes. Finally, the third factor is task difficulty. This principle says that the more difficult a task, the more likely that an individual will conform. Of course, ISI, though we don't need to mention that. In Yara's case, right at the beginning, they have told us they are solving some maths problem which is difficult according to Yara. So she must be unsure about her answer. So she's more likely to confirm. That's why when she thinks the answer is 4, she gives the answer 6. So any 2 of these factors you could give in your answer. Okay, let's come to the next question. Now it is about obedience. Many students keep overlapping between conformity and obedience. So make sure you know the distinction. Describe legitimacy of authority as an explanation for obedience. Also, take a look at the next question. Evaluate legitimacy of authority as an explanation for obedience. Clearly, that tells you that the first question is the AO1 component. Again, my pen is not working. And the next question is the AO3 one. But regardless, when you see command term describe, you know it is AO1. So you just have to give what you've learned in the syllabus. No strengths, no weaknesses, and there is no situation to apply this answer to. So the straightforward description answer you have to give. What you have to be very careful about is the question is worth 4 marks. So you have to give 4 unique points to score full 4 marks. What I mean by unique points is it should be every point different from the other, not the same point in different words. For example, if you're saying legitimacy of authority means that the authority figure has power over the individual and that's why the individual obeys. Okay, so that definitely 1 mark because it's a unique point. Now, the next point you give is because the authority figure can exert power over the individual, that is why the individual does not oppose the authority figure. The wording is a little different. The point is still the same. You're still talking about power of the authority figure and not adding anything more to that. Like you're not saying about any specific type of power that the authority figure has or exactly what impact it is having on the individual. Maybe he wants to protest, but he's not doing that. You're not adding anything new. You're just restating the same thing in different words, maybe adding a few more words. So that will not count as a unique point. Make sure there are 4 points. Each point is different from the other, giving some different insight from the other point. Okay, so 4 points for 4 marks in that sense, not 4 sentences, any 4 sentences. 4 sentences carrying different points. Actually, number of sentences does not matter. The quality of the points matter. So if I can give 4 points in one sentence or I can give 4 points in 10 sentences, doesn't matter as long as there are 4 points. Yes, for good organization, 4 points in 4 sentences is desirable. As I have mentioned for the 2 markers, the same approach you should follow here. Always begin with the definition. I'm sorry, I've put it in the wrong place. Okay, so obedience, this explanation of obedience suggests that individuals obey due to some power that is held over them by a figure in authority. You can say there is a position of power above them. Okay, you can give some example always. That's a good way of showing your understanding and it counts as a unique point also. So, for example, in the Milgram experiment, most participants said during debriefing that they obeyed because the experimenter asking them to administer shocks claimed to be a professor of Yale University, and so they felt that that individual had power over them. If you don't want to give from the experiment as such, you could give a layman's example also, like an everyday life example. So, for example, you could say that most individuals, most students will obey their teachers because they know the teacher has power over them, such as to punish them if they don't follow her orders. So, as simple as that. Okay, now there are many possibilities of what you can give besides this. So, I'll give you some examples of what you can give under legitimacy of authority. You can explain in 2 lines any of Milgram's variations. And I think that's very desirable also. Like I would do that for this answer. Here, the variation which is most relevant for legitimacy of authority is the rundown of its block experiment. So you can explain it in 2 lines. One line can be about the procedure and one line can be about the result or what was found. So that will cover 4 unique points. In the rundown of its block experiment, Milgram conducted or replicated the Yale University study in an indescript type of looking office block through a person who said he was a private researcher. rather than a professor of the university. And it was found that obedience declined significantly, indicating that in the Yale University original experiment, participants had obeyed because they believed in the legitimacy of a professor of that university. So, like this, simply you can explain Milgram's variation. There are other variations also, some of which are not covered in the textbook, but they are there, so you can take any of those. Like there is this one variation in which the authority figure is not wearing a uniform. So though they are in Yale University only, but the authority figure does not claim to be a professor of the university and does not wear any lab coat while doing the experiment. Again, obedience declined even in that case. So again goes to support legitimacy of authority. What other possible points are there? I'll just tell you orally. You could contrast it from any other explanation. You could say why it is different from another explanation. So we also have authoritarian personality as one of the explanations, which suggests that the individual themselves have a tendency to be very strict about or very insistent on obeying any person in power. So this is different from that. This is a more of a situational explanation which pinpoints the responsibility of obedience to external circumstances rather than the individual themselves. This is also a valid point that you could give. Or alternatively, you could give some other experiments in which legitimacy of authority is seen. Though I would like to take that under evaluation, but it's perfectly fine as an example in description also. So you could take Hoffling's experiment, for example, the nurses and doctors study. I believe it works very well for evaluation because it becomes a supportive study or empirical evidence, which increases validity. So I prefer taking it there, but you could take it here as well. So these are all the possible points that you can take for describe. The only suggestion I can give, what you can be aware about, is not to give too much detail for just 4 marks. You have to complete the whole paper, and it's roughly 1 mark per minute that you have to cover. So if you're going to describe Milgram's variation in excessive detail and not like I have explained, in that case you're going to lose out on time and you might not be able to complete the paper. That's why practice is very important, and preparing your pointers is very important. Practice is important for this reason, because the same question gets asked in different marks, for 4 marks, 6 marks, even 16 marks. So then you know how to cover that same material for different types of marks. That's why when you feel you've done the content a lot, you keep on reading and repeating it, it's not very helpful to score well on the exam, because you need this type of exam practice, how to adopt that content to answer any type of question. Secondly, like I said, to have your pointers ready is very important, so that you don't give overlapping points. Like I was giving the example earlier, same sentence you keep on giving in different words and you think why you didn't get 4 marks. I wrote 4 sentences but they didn't give me 4 marks. Because when you make your, you can make your frameworks for your answers. In that you cover unique points. So even if you've prepared it, say for a 16 marker essay, but for the 6 marks AO1 part, you've covered 6 unique points that you would give. So when it comes for a 4 marks answer, you just pick up any of those 4 unique points and you present them as sentences. So make sure you have your frameworks, answer writing frameworks, essay frameworks ready, and that you're practicing a lot with the exam papers. On my channel, there are a lot of videos with which you can practice. Keep writing your answers, pausing the video and checking whether you have followed all the rules that I'm suggesting here while writing your answer. This will help you to score. Just reading and rereading the material will not help you. Now let's look at evaluation. It's for 6 marks. I always say when it comes for 6 marks, it's like ideally give 2 points of evaluation, make it 1 strength, 1 weakness, balanced answer, plus treat it like you would treat an evaluation for an essay, for your 20 marker or for your 12 marker. Because even in your 12 marker, when you have 6 marks for AO3, what do? You write 2 peel paragraphs. So here also write 2 peel paragraphs because the marks are coming to the same. So why should your approach be different? This is ideal, it's not compulsory. You could give more than 2 points, less than that. You could, not follow the peel format entirely. All that is fine. But if you want to get your full 6 marks, and so much in Oxford, especially rubrics are there for marking even for the shortest of questions, to be in that high mark band, like for this one, to mark this 6 marker, what they're going to do, they're going to have that rubric. And that 5 to 6 range is there based on how strong your strengths and weaknesses are. They're not going to literally count how many points you're giving, they're going to go by that rubric. So when you want that 6 out of 6 marks, then if you follow the ideal approach which I'm suggesting, becomes easy to get those 6 marks. Some students feel, oh, I'm giving 6 evaluation points, so they literally count 6 and they'll give me. Please check the mark schemes, that is not how they score. And if you want more information on how the mark schemes are used and all, you can watch some of my previous videos, like the one which I've given, how to answer 20 marker for Oxford AQA. In that, I've explained these things in detail. Okay, so the strength that I would give, as I've already told you, is support from research studies, and I'm going to take the Hoffling study for this. It's the most prominent one. So my point in the peel format is empirical evidence. To elaborate on this, I will just say that, like in a line, I'll give what was done in that study. So there was a researcher posing as a doctor over the telephone, and he asked the nurses to administer an unknown medicine which they didn't have much details about to some patients. Like, they knew the medicine, they knew how much of its dosage and all is safe, but for what purpose they were being asked to give it was not very clear to them. These instructions were given over the telephone, whereas the hospital had a protocol that prescription instructions should always be given by doctors face to face. Nurses should not take them over the phone, and there should be a signed or a validated instruction that is given to the nurses in writing. Despite the protocol being in place, what was found was all except one nurse obeyed what the doctor had said, despite knowing that that dosage which was being prescribed could be lethal for the patient. When they were asked during debriefing why they had agreed to give the dosage, they reported that the doctor was a legitimate authority figure. They were afraid of the power of the doctor, that he could punish them for disobeying, and they also felt that the doctor knew better than them what is to be done in terms of giving medicines. Of course, that goes more towards agentic state. Both the explanations are there in this study. Uh, they felt the doctor should take responsibility, but if we put it that way, it becomes agentic state. And also, they were afraid of the doctor's power and punishment. We should emphasize more of that over here. That made them obey, which shows that they believed the doctor was a legitimate authority figure. Always link back. I've really emphasized on this in the first part and my other videos as well. To get into that high rubric, the L of the peel, linking back is very important. Don't just describe the study and leave it. Oh, this was the study, this was found. So what? How does it link to the question being asked? Like, what does it have to do with legitimacy of authority as an explanation? It makes the explanation credible, or it gives it internal validity. Because there's a study which is showing that this is not just a theory or not just a supposition, it is actually something that is found in the real world, like in an actual hospital. Okay, so do explain it that way. Then there's also this weakness about the explanation. The simplest one I'm going to take here, reductionism. There are many other possible explanations for obedience. In your syllabus, they have given agentic state mainly, but there's also authoritarian personality suggested by Adorno. So if you want, you could give that. Right now, I'm taking agentic state. So in the peel format, my point is that this is a reductionist explanation, which is a weakness. Elaboration is there are other explanations of obedience, such as agentic state, Then, of course, I will define agentic state. It suggests that when ordered by an authority figure, individuals lose their sense of autonomy or they shift from an autonomous state where they are responsible for their actions to an agentic state where they believe that they are just performing on behalf of another individual who is the authority figure and stop feeling responsible for their own behavior. As compared to, again, we don't just leave it like this. If you want to score high, what does it link back to the question? Like, what have they asked me about legitimacy of authority? So what is it showing about that? It shows that though legitimacy of authority might be appropriate in some situations or for some people why they are obeying, it explains well. It might not explain for everyone or for all situations why obedience is being done. If you want, not required, though this much is enough, but you could give an example. Sometimes we see that people obey even though the other individual does not have power to punish them. For example, if my teacher asks me to do some personal favor for her outside the classroom, still I do it, though she cannot punish me for not doing a personal favor for her. Of course, there are those teachers who will punish in the classroom for something that was not done outside, but now keeping that aside, so she does not have power outside the classroom to punish me, and still I'm obeying her. So, legitimacy of authority would not explain very well what is being done here, rather, it would be agentic state. That I feel that I'm just doing something on behalf of the teacher. She's instructed me to do this, that is why I'm doing this. One even better explanation, so example could be the Nazi Germany situation. No doubt Hitler had the power to punish the Nazi soldiers who were not following his instructions to torture the Jews. But when they were asked, when the Nazi soldiers and their commanders were asked as to why they were obeying Hitler, most of them said that they felt Hitler was responsible for what they were doing. They were just following instructions. These are the exact words, which points more towards an agentic state, feeling irresponsible for one's own actions rather than fear of punishment. So, rather than legitimacy of authority. Okay, so that is the description and evaluation. Then there is a full 12 marker question. Describe and evaluate social support as an explanation for resisting social influence. I don't know how, but some students get very confused about this. They try to present somehow social support as a reason for obeying or for conforming, which is not the case at all. We have seen social support is for disobeying or not conforming, it is for resistance. So make sure you're learning the lesson properly. This type of an answer is divided into two. AO1, okay, thankfully the pen is working again, which is describe, and evaluate, which is AO3. Each is for 6 marks. So for the describe part, 6 unique points about resisting social influence and social support. For AO3, 2 balanced peel points, preferably one with a supporting study, empirical evidence, and one with a counterpoint. But regardless, you can score high if you give two well organized and well reasoned and contextualized peel points. Again, watch my lesson on how to write a 20 marker or any of the UK lessons which I have put for 16 markers. Elaborately, I have explained peel formats there. Very important to score high for your essay answers. Okay, one very important thing is explanation for resisting social influence. They have not asked you selectively for conformity or for obedience. So, preferably talk about both types of social influence. It is good, also shows your range of knowledge, plus makes it easier for you to answer, because you would find it difficult to give 6 unique points for only one of them, for either conformity or obedience. If you take both, it gives you the advantage of being able to cover enough material for 6 marks for AO1. I'll just directly get into it. First, always explain the general principle before introducing any study or explaining further. Give clarity at the beginning. So, first, always begin with greater the social support, lesser are the chances that the individual will conform. We'll begin with that. Now, you could elaborate in the sense of explaining why this is the case. Because we have seen conformity is often out of fear of disapproval or desire to fit in, NSI basically. So that is why when the individual receives support of another person for their own views, they do not fear rejection as much because they already have approval of one other person. So it can reduce the desire for approval and fear of rejection. Alternatively, you could also explain it in terms of breaking of unanimity, or you can give both the explanations, which is one of the factors that influences conformity, which we have just covered also in one of the answers. Individuals often conform because the entire majority is against them, which becomes very difficult to resist. But if at least one individual is already opposing the majority view, the unanimity is broken, the majority has been split, and that is why it becomes easy for the individual to conform. Even if you give this much, it justifies 3 marks, 3 unique points are there. But I would suggest giving, a supporting study also, or alternatively skipping those last 2 points of reasoning and giving the study instead. So for conformity, we have Ash's variation, in which unanimity was broken, and instead of 7 to 8 confederates opposing what the naive participant was saying, there was at least one, and in some cases, two confederates who gave the same answer as the naive participant. And in these cases, conformity dropped drastically. I do not remember exactly to what percentage it came down, but something approximately 5% only. On only 5% of trials, in participants were found to conform, whereas in the original ASH experiment, on approximately 33% of the trials, individuals did conform to the majority. One thing is, when you give any variation of ASH or Milgram, just make sure that you give the percentage of conformity or obedience found in contrast with the percentage found in the original experiments. Never give them standalone, otherwise they don't make sense. Like if I say 5% of times people were conforming, then it looks like, oh, but still 5% they were conforming despite the unanimity being broken. That's why it's important to emphasize that it's much lesser than what they conform if there is unanimity. Okay, so do present it that way. If you want to reserve this study for the evaluation bit, because there you want to use this as empirical evidence, well and good. Then, like I said, you could just give the reasoning or the explanations in the second 2 points, second and third point, and this one you can keep it for evaluation. Very similar structure we can give for obedience. Again, greater the social support, lesser is the tendency to obey. You could give reasoning for the same, because if we talk about it in terms of uh, agentic shift, it becomes difficult for the individual to displace authority or responsibility onto the authority figure when there is another individual who is willing to take responsibility for their own actions and is confronting the authority figure and disobeying. So that is why the agentic shift breaks. The impact of agentic state lessens when an individual sees that another person is willing to disobey. Alternatively, if we talk about legitimacy of authority also, even that reduces to some extent. Because when we see someone else is disobeying and the authority figure is not able to exert power over that individual, or despite the power of authority figure, that individual is willing to disobey, it makes us question the legitimacy of the authority figure ourselves, that do they really have power over us or not. So these are the reasons why social support can lessen obedience. Again, up to you. You could give a variation of Milgram here. Alternatively, you could give it as empirical evidence. So, in one of Milgram's variations, there was social support for the participant, in which they were asked to administer shocks in groups of three, firstly, because normally in Milgram's study, the original one, there's only one participant who has to give the shock. So, in this variation, they were asked to administer shocks in groups of three, and in that group, one or two, many studies have been done. So, in some cases, one, in some cases, both the other confederates who were like pretending to be participants along with the genuine one, they refused to give the shocks. And in this case, obedience rates declined. In original Milgram's experiment, 65% of participants have obeyed up to the maximum 450 volts shock. In this one, I cannot remember the percentage exactly. I think again it's around 5%. Please check this with your textbook. I'm not very sure on this, so I cannot guarantee that the percentage I've given here is correct. Okay. So these are the possible points that we can give. There is also one more variation by Milgram, in which in fact this groups of three situation was only there, but the other participants did not oppose what the authority figure was saying, and then that variation was contrasted with this one. So the case where other participants are willing to disobey the authority figure, and the one in which they are not willing to disobey. In fact, the remaining two are like, yes, we will obey the authority figure. Definitely, in that case, obedience became much high, more than 65%, also because there were two other people who were willing to obey. So, this participant became all the more pressurized to obey. Like conformity also entered into the experiment along with obedience. And in this one, obedience was on decline. So, goes further to show social support can pull the individual in its own direction. It's a little complicated, though you have to explain it very correctly, then only you can score. So if you want, you can skip that. If you know it well, that variation, then you can explain it well here. Now coming to possible EU 3 points. In the Peel format, we can begin with the strength. You can give, any of these studies only as social support. Alternatively, I think an excellent one to give over here is the key study as covered in the official textbook, the Gamson study. So you could say Gamson, I cannot remember the names of the other researchers, do write all the names. Gamson et al. Study on, it was on obedience actually. Or you could just say social support. More than conformity, it is obedience. And you can say it provides empirical support to the social support explanation for resistance. Of course, for elaboration, you just have to describe the study a little. So, participants were asked to do a discussion on a television show about a situation that had taken place in which uh, some consultant was being blamed for causing losses to the business and thereby the government. And the consultant himself was saying that it was a conspiracy against him deliberately because he had raised his voice against malpractices. He was being scapegoated, and there was an attempt to discredit him. Whereas the company claimed that he had done many malpractices in the organization, and that is why they had got rid of him. It had become a public concern. The issue had been raised in public. So this group of individuals was asked to discuss amongst themselves so that they could air on the television program what people are thinking about the situation. Okay, this you can put briefly. Now, when they were having the discussion, from time to time, the programmer kept asking them to speak in favor of the organization rather than the consultant. So you can describe that this was the procedure. Results indicated that Most of the individuals refused to talk in terms of a propaganda that was set. They became infuriated on being asked to deliberately present some opinion on the program. They actually wanted to give their own honest opinion. And what was found that when group discussions were taking place, since all the individuals together thought that this was wrong of the programmer to ask them to take a particular viewpoint rather than giving their honest views, collectively they kept on opposing the programmer. And because of their social support which they received from each other, that is from other members of the group who were doing the discussion, they were able to refuse the authority of the program authority, in the sense that he was conducting the program and he had got them there. So in that sense he had power authority over them. They were able to refuse and disobey that programmer because they had support of each other. Now, this would be your description, of course, briefly. What you need to give is reasoning for why this is a strength of the social support explanation. Because it goes to show in a very realistic situation in which participants were totally naive. They could not have shown any social desirability. They did not know that this was what was being investigated, whether they obey or not. In that situation, also, when they had support of each other, they refused to obey the authority figure. So it gives very realistic and concrete empirical evidence for this explanation, increasing its credibility or internal validity. Okay. If you have reserved the Milgram and Ash variations instead, you could give those in the same way. You can structure those points as a strength. For the weakness, again, the easiest one to take is it is a reductionist view. There are many other reasons for why there might be resistance to uh, social influence, like conformity or obedience, which is locus of control. So, of course, in locus of control, you could give the definition. And you could explain that it's a more individual explanation which suggests why some people don't give in to conformity or obedience is because they believe they are responsible for their own actions. They have an internal locus of control. Whereas this one, the social support one, is a situational explanation. So also you could add that to make this a stronger point. It can be very difficult to differentiate in a given situation. Like, no doubt, say other people are supporting disobedience or non-conformity. The individual is not conforming or not obeying because of that. But is it because of his own locus of control that anyways he would have disobeyed or not conformed? And it's just appearing like because of social support he's doing that, can be difficult to determine. So it can be that where we are assuming that social support is the reason for not giving into social influence, actually it could be locus of control. So why this becomes a weakness is misinterpreting the motivation or the reason behind resistance. So which could invalidate the explanation, which could reduce its validity. Actually, not invalidate, that's too strong. It could just reduce its validity. To give a counterpoint though, it's a very easy counterpoint that you can give. All these experiments, like if we take Milgram's variation or Ash's variation, when people have not obeyed or not conformed because of social support, it's been very apparent because the difference in rates of obedience or conformity compared to the original experiments has been so sharp. Like it comes down from say 33% to 5%, which is like a reduction of more than 25%. We cannot attribute it to anything leaving social support because that is the only thing that they have changed in the variation. Rest everything has been kept constant. So if there's such a drastic decline in obedience or conformity, it's very clear it's because of social support. If locus of control was the reason, then even in original experiments, that should have been the case, that lots of people should have not obeyed or not conformed, because lots of people are known to have internal locus of control. So no doubt it will be true for many individuals that they are not obeying because of an internal locus of control. But the classic studies and the variations, the replications, they have drastic difference in their effect size. Which suggests that social support, if not the only explanation, is a very strong explanation which can explain disobedience or non-conformity in a large number of situations. It can override the locus of control explanation in many cases. So definitely it has good validity. We can counter that way. Okay. I forgot to do only one thing in this particular part of the lesson. I forgot to brainstorm on other evaluation points that are possible for the previous answer and for this one. In case you're not interested in that, you could use the timestamp below and you can just end the video. You could skip to the outro. Okay, for the previous one, the 10th one, evaluate legitimacy of authority as an explanation for obedience. Let's consider what other evaluation points can be there. Of course, there can be lots. And I always recommend in my classes, I help students also by giving them material from the UK AQA books, because indeed in the Oxford AQA book, excellent as it is, sometimes points are very limited. So for other strengths that you could give, which come to my mind right now, many other points are possible. I'm just giving you what comes to me. For legitimacy of authority, of course, application is always a strength for most of the explanations. So you could give something like, if we take legitimacy of authority, it has very good application for reducing destructive obedience. For example, if we can make people in authority appear less overbearing, or less, what do we say, overwhelming, overbearing, and instead we can ask them to do simple things like wear casual clothes, speak informally, that will reduce pressure to obey on their subordinates. So that can be a very useful way of reducing destructive obedience and maybe even encouraging whistleblowers. So it has very good application. Also, of course, application in the sense it helps to explain many situations of real world obedience which have been seen in real situations, even historical situations, as I had given the example before. So that could be another strength that we could have given instead of the study. Study strengths are always preferred, empirical support, but of course there are other possibilities. In terms of weakness, I had given reductionism. Other weaknesses of legitimacy of authority are simply the fact that many times people are found to obey, like I had given the example, even in unofficial settings. Even people who don't actually have any signs or symbols of visible authority on them, still they obey. So then this does not explain all situations. Like, even if I don't take it in terms of reductionism point, its scope is limited, even if I don't compare with any other explanation. That can be one. Second, it can be a little abstract in the sense to determine when someone is looking like a legitimate authority figure, or to operationalize to what extent we can consider the individual has power, and this degree of power, this type of power can get a person to obey. In practice, to measure those things or to operationalize those things can be challenging. So you could give those type of weaknesses. Of course, like I told you, many others must be there, but right now I can think of that. Finally, coming to the 11th one, in which we have evaluated social support as explanation for resistance. Again, another strength would be application. That's the easiest. Because we know social support can encourage people to disobey or non-conform in destructive situations, we can increase social support that individuals have, such as making these, I forgot the exact term used, but peer support groups, in which there is access given to individuals to their peers who are like-minded like them, so that all of them can together oppose some authority figure or can go against the majority in case of conformity. So deliberately such interventions can be done. The best example would be in case of bullying, where the bully has a sort of power over the victims by, having the ability to punish them by ridiculing them or making fun of them in front of the whole school. So here, especially having those peer support groups so that all together can refuse the bully can be a very beneficial intervention in terms of resisting the influence of the bully. So you could give something like that. Also, again, same thing like the previous, more or less the same. Application in the sense of explaining world events. Like I had given the example of Hitler before, Hitler and the Nazi situation. You could give that also. In terms of weaknesses, like I've given you reductionism, other weakness possible is again social support, operationalizing, measuring similar to the previous one. To what extent social support is needed, how many people are needed to form support so that the individual can go against authority. And of course, it can be overridden because one aspect which is not considered is just as individuals can have social support, the authority figure in case of obedience, or the majority, anyways, in case of conformity, have a lot of social support going along with them. So it can be that any social support received by one individual falls short compared to the social support that the authority figure or the majority are having. So social support might not be able to override the influence of the dominant figure or the majority in many cases for this reason, because social support works both way in case of the individual and in case of the powerful other. So you could give something like that. And of course, any other valid points you can give for strengths and weaknesses. So that is for this video. As I had done for the previous lesson, I will upload these outlines on my website. Also, you can download from there. In case you want me to write down full-fledged answers, because you need model answers for these questions, and of course they are repeated often with different wording. So you can just let me know in the comments box. Like I have prepared essay packs for developmental psychology, with actual past paper questions and tailor-made answers in the sense exactly what is demanded by the question. I can do the same for this also, and then you will be able to purchase from my website. I just feel that certain topics are found to be more difficult by students compared to social influence development is found to be more difficult. So I'm focusing on those four first. But if you want answers for all sorts of topics, even those which are considered easier might be challenging for you. No shame in that. So you can ask me for the model answers for these as well, and then definitely I'll consider uploading them. Also, what other videos you'd like to see, you can let me know in the comments box below. I will be doing a part 3 of this video also, in which I cover section C for PS01. So do stay tuned to that. You could subscribe my channel for that, and you can bookmark my website, because besides the videos I put on this channel, I'm also uploading material on the website, text material. So then you'll have access to that as well. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again really soon. Goodbye.